Am I videoing or am I standing?
See how cute you look?
Huh?
Oh, see, that's my outtake. Beautiful. You start a video with a funny little comment like that.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the show. Today we're going to talk about the empty nest and how my wife and I have navigated that process, learned a few things and want to share them with you today. But first, I want to show you a video. It's a compilation of a recent trip we took, a little couples getaway for 2 nights. And as you're watching this, there was a lot of things that went into the making of that weekend, meaning all the work we did ahead of time, getting our relationship to where we want to have it in order to be able to go do that. That's what I'm going to talk about today. All right, let's roll tape. There you have it. That was a trip we took to Eastern Washington in the Leavenworth area, did some cider tasting and some Oktoberfest, and it was a blast. But today I'm going to tell you the 5 things I've learned that has helped us get to that point. And I'm going to start with number 1. The fact of the matter is, I started dating my wife in 1983 while I was in high school. We got married after college in 1988. We had our first child in 1990. And right now it is October 2021, and I still have a senior in high school at home. So our empty nest really begins to start next summer. However, we're doing some practicing because we've been on this journey over the last couple of years when we started to identify, oh, wow, soon it's just going to be the 2 of us here with as little distractions as possible because I now have grandkids already. So it's not like it's a completely quiet house. But for the most part, it's going to be pretty radically different. And we got to thinking, boy, we really are going to need to get prepared for this. Because what happens in a marriage, even one like ours that started out with this great friendship and awesome times we had in high school and college, the last 30 years have been really much more about logistics than that old spontaneous, let's go out and have a good time that we had before we had children. Our relationship in some ways got really business-like. And our discussions often centered around, where's dinner coming from? Who's going to go visit grandma? I got to get this kid from point A and this kid from point B. And the school's calling, and why won't he do his homework? So it's just, it's so many of those. Plus, then you got the stress of finances, and everybody's tired, and couples tend to bicker, and you can really, I don't want to say the marriage was in jeopardy. However, it certainly was on a certain amount of just automation. And my wife and I are really interested in having some fun and spending the next 30 years closer to what life was like when we were in college together than as we've been raising kids. So we identified the first thing we wanted to do was to get some help. And some people might go with counseling. We didn't feel we wanted that face-to-face with somebody else or whatever. We live very busy lives. So we went with a guided program. And this is the Gottman Institute. And it's really cool. I think these guys are out of Seattle. Dr. Gottman and his group. Comes in a little kit. And you get this book here called 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work. And then as you go through the book, there's workbook programs to do. And you go through a chapter, you do the workbook, and then they have some kind of cool cards where you can read open-ended questions to each other. Now, my wife and I have been together a very long time. And we know the answers to most of these questions when we ask each other. But it's still fun. And there were some, nice to see, if I knew, I didn't know everything, right? And there was always things to learn. But mostly what this is about is making sure that the marriage is fair and equitable, that you are working together and not against each other. All right, the next point is make a plan. I get it. Hollywood tells us that relationships should be spontaneous and exciting in the sense that nobody has to work hard at it and you're just dropping everything and going off and having this great romantic time. But that's not necessarily really reality because there's jobs and kids and grandkids and a whole lot of other logistical complications, even in an empty nest. So make a plan. Lay down what you're going to do and how you're going to reconnect. How do you want to spend your empty nest time? Work on talking about what those elements look. Make sure each partner gets to do things that are of interest to them, and then hopefully do a lot of things that are interesting to both of you. My wife and I, we love food, we love travel, we enjoy recreation and hiking and all of those things. And so as you can see from the video, those are the things we like to do. And so that's not what every couple likes to do. Spend some time really looking at that. What is it that you're going to do together? And sometimes you're going to be doing something one person wants and vice versa. And don't be selfish. Don't be selfish. Doesn't going to be everything you want to do. You have a partner as well. And part of honoring that partner and showing respect is doing things he or she wants to do and not complaining about it. But then make sure you're heard too, right? So you need to spend things you want to do without that person complaining or making you feel guilty for it. And then definitely try to spend 80% of the time doing something you both want to do. Maybe that's going to a movie, a great restaurant. I don't know, flying to Phoenix. Whatever you want to do it. But make a plan, because here's the deal. If you don't plan these things, if you don't plan how you're going to spend time together and what you're going to do to find some common interests, it's just going to fall apart. You're going to end up just right back in old patterns. And one person shouldn't have to be leading all the planning. You got to share that load. So, I don't know, it's kind of like if it's something, if you want a fulfilling empty nest time and a fulfilling retirement, well, then you got to put in the effort. The next part is expectation. Start small. Because if you decide to go from 0 to 100 or not spending a lot of time together and then 2 weeks in Hawaii, oh, mama, that's not going to work for you. Go to miniature golf together, or go out to eat, or go see a movie, and start there. If you really have to build from scratch, go in small elements, because it's going to be a disaster if you try to go too big too soon. So start early also, right? Start now. If you've got 5 years to empty nest, it's going to be much easier to start doing things as a couple again, because your kids should be old enough to stay home by themselves, or at least go stay at grandma's or whatever. But make some time for yourself and get started. Number 4, recap. All the time, recap. And what that means is every time you do something together, talk about it. What went well? What didn't go well? Because you don't want to be building up resentment. Maybe you keep making the plans and your partner's not. If you don't talk about that right at the start, you're just building this layers of resentment and crisis to come. After your first empty nest outing, on the way home, just talk about it. Hey, how'd that go? Was that fun for you? How did you think the planning went? And that's a good time to make the next plan. Remember tip number 2, make your plans during the recap. Then you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Okay, number 5, have fun. Now that sounds like something we tell our kids when they're off to somewhere they don't want to go. But it's true. It's still, honestly, you have to let go of inhibition in order to have a good time and to reinforce the enjoyment of spending time together. I think back in high school, I never had to tell myself to have fun. It was just fun. We'd get out of school and my wife and I, we'd be off to, wherever everybody was hanging out or whatever we wanted to do. And it was very fluid and in the moment. And it was fun. But it still can be, and it should be as you're moving forward into the empty nest. And you're still that person you were before, but sometimes, we get all proper, or we're worried about what people are going to think, or we just haven't built the habit, or we got out of the habit of how to have fun. So have fun.